I'm Miss Williams from Westlake with my first grade class. I'm here with Mr. Crosslin, and today's lesson is the human impact on the environment.
Hey, thanks for that great introduction. So this is kind of a tough lesson because it's kind of hard to understand. It has to do with how people have changed the environment. Now you probably don't know what the word environment means. You ever heard the word environment before?
Yes.
Oh, good. What is environment? What do you think environment means? Yes.
It means a place around us like water, land,
Yeah. Did you hear that? He said it's like the things around us, like water and land and air and plants and animals. You do know. So I wrote today's idea up here on the board. When people change the environment, it may be good for some organisms or it may be bad for others. So the key word there is environment, and I did that in green because environment, like my friend said, is both air and water and land and plants and animals. But the word organism is kind of tough too. Organism means what? Anybody know? Yes.
like the plant
Plants
or animals.
or animals. So that's our lesson. When people change the environment, it may be good for some organisms and bad for others. Let me give you an example. Right here, where you're sitting, right here in this room, if you look around this beautiful school room, it didn't always used to be like this. 200 years ago, let me see that brown. There was probably right here where I'm sitting, a giant tree. You're probably thinking, what? There was probably a giant tree that was growing right here before this building was here. Can you imagine that? Use your imagination that there's this giant tree right there. Let's put some green leaves all over it, okay? And in this tree that lived right here where we're sitting, was a forest. There were probably a deer that walked by right here. Oh, there's probably a squirrel that lived there. And birds that lived here, and grasshoppers and snakes and bugs and flowers and bushes and raccoons. And all those lived right here. Are they here now?
No.
No. I mean, there probably was a tree growing right here. In fact, there were trees everywhere across Indiana. Lots of trees everywhere. In fact, it was a big forest. This forest with the trees everywhere. There was forests and trees and grasses, and the environment was quite different. What happened? What happened?
They cut it down.
They cut it down. Who's they? People. People came here and probably they built something that looks like this out in the woods, and they probably built a log cabin, right? What did they make the cabin out of? Wood. So they had to cut down some trees. They probably cut down some trees. Let's see if I have a little eraser here. So they had to cut down that tree and that tree. And then they probably built a chimney on the side of it, right? So they could cook, right? And they would burn wood to keep warm. They made their house out of wood, their floors out of wood, their carts out of wood. They probably made fences all around their house out of wood, right? In fact, they used wood for everything. And where did they get that wood?
From trees.
From chopping down trees. Now, think about all the animals that used to live there. They had to do what? What?
Run. They had to go away.
They had to go away. Now, so here's my question. Is that good or bad to clear the land to make a log cabin so you could live there? Is that good or bad? Oh, we got some people say good, some people bad. How many people say good? Give me a thumbs up. How many people say it's bad to cut down the trees? Give me a thumbs down. How many people that are not sure? Give me a middle.
I'm not doing
Not sure. Who would it be good for to cut down the trees?
Me.
You, yeah, yeah. Because if your mom and dad wants to, you probably want to have a farm too. You probably want to grow some vegetables, so you have to cut down some more trees and make a garden right here. I have a garden at my house, and you can't have a tree there because you have a tree there, it doesn't get any sunshine. So here's my point. This is still kind of hard. When people change the environment, it may be good for some organisms. So here it's good for people, but it's bad for others, like the squirrels and the deer. Now, I'm not saying that's good or bad. What?
And the fox.
And the fox. But look at this school right here. Something that probably happened.
Why would they go in there?
Where would the animals go?
In the woods.
Yeah, but if you cut down the woods, what's going to happen?
Then they could go into the cabin.
In the cabin with the
But they
people?
hate the cabin.
Yeah, that's not their natural place, is it? Yes.
Why don't they go to another one?
Oh, so that's a good idea. He says, why don't they move somewhere else? But other animals live there.
They could live with the other animals.
I guess what I'm trying to say is, when we change the environment, it might be good for some things and bad.
Crocodiles can be the people.
Well, that's true. Yes.
It's like it's gonna be good for us.
It's going to be good for us
And bad for them.
and bad for them. So we have to make a good decision. But look at this room right here. Here's what happened next. They cut down more trees, and that log cabin, it got changed. That log cabin got changed. You know what? Then people made a big farm here in Westlake. And then the farmland got changed until now we have a big school right here. Let me change this to a big school. We got rid of the farm. And now this is Westlake. Got rid of the chimney. We put a bunch of classrooms in here, okay? Bunch of classrooms. We got a school bus dropping you guys off.
School bus. That's true.
And a parking lot with all the kids walking into school, So now, let's put a flag here. Now we changed it one more time. Is a school a good thing to have here?
Yes.
Well, what about all the land? What about all the farmers and all the people? Someone said, we don't care about them. Someone said that. And so you don't care about all the animals that used to live here because now we have a school. Let me ask this, is it good to cut down the forest to make a school?
No.
Or no?
You like people more than animals.
Ms. Williams, if we didn't have a school here, she wouldn't have a job.
No.
And look at all, I wouldn't have a job.
Yes.
And where would you guys go to school at home or? I want you to think for a second, if we chop down all the trees, it's going to be good for some things, but bad for others. Well, I got to show you one more thing. This is kind of interesting, I think. I don't know. This was kind of tough. When I was at my house last weekend, and somebody had raked up the leaves by my house and had started to do this. You won't believe what they did. We got to get rid of that farmland. They put a barrel out here. They put a barrel. You know what a barrel is? And they piled it up with leaves and trash and started burning it. And that was going all up in the air. They were burning trash in my neighborhood. And so is that a good idea?
Yeah.
Well, they had I went and knocked on the door and I said, excuse me, you are filling my house with smoke. And you know what the man said? Well, I got to get rid of my leaves. I got to get rid of my trash. I go, well, you can't burn it. He goes, I burn it, it just goes up and I get rid of it. Is that a good thing?
Yeah.
How many people think yes?
I need trash.
No? All right, let's take a closer look at this, okay? Okay, here is a picture of someone burning leaves and trash in their yard. Is that a good thing to do? No. And let me show you this next picture. Check it out. Look at this next picture. This is burning trash. Is that a good thing to do? No. In fact, if you look at the next picture, here is a garbage dump on fire. Is that a good thing for the environment? So what could we do? If you look down one more, and you can learn about this later, we could turn our garbage into garden dirt, and that's called compost. And that's something that I want you to learn about. Okay, so that was composting. There are a lot of things, instead of throwing them in the trash or burning them, you can put them in your garden and it decomposes. You heard that word, decompose? Have you talked about decompose? Have you talked about decompose?
Yes.
Well, I brought some things you probably know about. For example, when I go to the grocery store, there are 3 choices I can do. My best choice is if I bring a bag like this to the grocery store, because I can reuse this bag over and over again. So when I go shopping, I take this bag, I buy my stuff, and I use this bag over and over again. I can use this 100 times. That's a good choice.
Yeah.
My second choice is I can use this bag made out of cardboard. This bag is made out of cardboard, which comes from paper, which comes from wood. When I'm done with this bag, I can put it in my garden and it will dissolve. Decomposers, worms, small bugs will turn this back into soil. That's my second choice. This, unfortunately, is my third choice. You ever used one of these?
Yeah.
This is made out of a type of material that is new to nature. Nature knows wood and paper. Nature doesn't know plastic. If I put this in my garden and I come back in a year, guess what? It's still there. If I put this in my garden and I come back, it's dissolved. This doesn't dissolve. So what choice do you think you should use? The plastic,
No.
the paper,
Yes.
or the reusable? So that is one way that you can change the environment. And while I got this out, check this out. I do this at home. Maybe you know this word. I look for plastic. Would you look on the bottom and see if you can see a triangle on that? Look on that. See if you see a triangle? You see it? Does anybody hold that? What does that triangle mean? Recycle. And there's one on here. So I save all of my things with plastic triangles on them, and I put them in a box and recycle them. You know what they do with these? Even this one right here. Look, even the water bottle, which I sometimes use as it has a recycle. They chop it up and they melt it and make new bottles. Guess what I do with this? I recycle. Do you guys recycle in this room here?
Yes.
Where's your recycling box?
Right there.
Oh, go get it for me. Would you go get your recycling box for me? And here's some more stuff to recycle. What do you recycle? Paper. Oh, look at that. It has paper. I'm going to add my recycling. Is that okay to put it in?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Good. I'm glad you guys recycle. Good job here. Here's something else I recycle at my house. Glass. Glass. We save glass because if we save it, send it to the recycling, they will break it up, send it to a company, melt it, and make new bottles. That's recycle, right? And one other thing that I do, listen, maybe you know what this is. What do you think it is? Cans, aluminum cans. Metal. I save my cans and I send them back to be recycled. I don't know if you know this or not, but this aluminum comes from a type of rock in the ground. And to get that, you have to dig up a lot of the ground, get the material, the ore, fix it all up, melt it to make cans. That takes energy. Wouldn't it be better just to save the can and have it crushed and melted? And here's the secret. You can take these to some places and they give you money for them. Yeah. So, you do that? Good. So is it better to throw these in the trash or to recycle them?
Recycle.
Yeah. If you just throw them away, okay, here's the thing. This young man here said, oh, I just throw them away. See, that's the problem. There's some people that know about this and other people that just want to throw it away. We have to convince this young man that it's better for the environment not to throw it away. Here's one thing that we haven't talked about. All living things have needs. Plants and animals, you and I, we need air, water, food, energy, and room to grow. So it gets to be a problem sometimes. Now, I want to show you something. This is real close to your school. Sometimes there's a river, and rivers come from when it rains, like it did last night, all the water comes down, and the river or a creek goes downhill. You understand that, right?
Yeah.
And if it rains a lot, what happens to this water? If it rains a real lot, what happens to it?
It got bigger.
And it gets bigger. What do you call a lot of water that gets so big? That might even come up by your school.
Ocean?
No, not that big.
Lake?
What? Yes. It's a flood. If it's too much, we call that a flood. That's when it rains too much and the water comes outside of the banks of the river. But there's another thing too. What if it only rains a little bit? What happens to the river?
It dries up and goes away.
It dries up and goes away, and that's called a drought. Have you heard of that word before?
Yeah.
Well, that's a new word. No rain, drought. Too much rain, flood. Now, if you live by a river and it rained all the time, everything's good. But what happens if your river rained so much that it would flood? It would flood the school. It would flood your house. It would just keep flooding. Is that a good thing?
No. What are you gonna do?
Well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do?
You're gonna have to clean it up.
Yeah, you'll have to clean it up. But it might destroy the house or the farm. Here's what people do. Tell me if this is a good idea. Watch. Sometimes, Ms. Williams, they build something up here with dirt. They make a big pile of dirt. No, they make a big pile of dirt and they put rocks on it. It's called a dam. Now they do leave, it's called a dam. They do leave a little hole right in the middle of it, at the bottom, like this, watch. And you know what that hole is for? To let the water go through. It's like a pipe. They let the water go through, but guess what happens to the rest of the water when it rains now? Some of it goes through, right? Some of it goes through, but it starts backing up and backing up, and guess what it makes now? A lake. Who said that?
You did.
It makes a lake. Now when it makes a lake, it's not a flood anymore, it's a lake. But I got to ask you something. All these trees that used to be here now get covered up. All the animals that used to live there now get covered up by the lake. People made the dam to stop the flooding, but the trees and the land, now there's still a river over here, but there's this giant lake. Before you answer if that's good or bad, I want you to think about it. I want you to think about it. Let's make a list of what is good about a lake. What is good about a lake? You can, at a lake, the good things, what can you do? Miss Williams, what's something good about a lake?
You can go swimming in it.
You could swim, yeah. What else?
There's fish in there.
Oh, you could go fishing, yeah. Oh, you could go on a boat.
You could.
You could go on a boat. What else? Yes.
You can feed it.
There's ducks probably and turtles. Oh, guess what? You can also drink it. Now we have lots of water.
Yeah, you clean it.
That's where we get our water
How
from.
can you clean water?
You clean water by filtering it and making sure it doesn't have anything to hurt you. Use special filters and chemicals to make sure it's clean. So you can drink it. Oh, there's no floods now? Oh, those are all good things. What's bad about having a lake? Okay, so everything that used to be here, all the trees, all the animals, so the trees are gone, the animals are gone. Look here, there's no more farms. The farms are gone that are there. So let me ask you this. Is having a reservoir, make a dam, is that a good thing
Yes.
or a bad thing? Good thing?
Bad.
I'll tell you, here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to divide up into 3 groups. Anybody that thinks it's a good thing is going to go over there with Mrs. Williams. Anybody that thinks it's a bad thing is going to go over there by the door with Mr. Scott. And anybody that's not sure is going to stay here. Williams, would you spend a minute, talk with your group of why you think having a dam and a reservoir is good, and then we'll report down in a minute. Mr. Scott, would you talk with your group and would you ask them to come up with why it's bad to have a lake or a reservoir for the environment, okay? You guys don't know if it's good or bad, right? So I want you to think of the reasons why. Okay, Ms. Williams, what is your group? Why do you guys think it's good to have a lake or reservoir?
We have ideas of swimming. They give us food to eat. Places for the animals, like the fish and the turtle, to swim in.
Okay. God, why do you guys think it's bad to have a reservoir in a lake?
Well, some of my friends, Mr. Crosslin, said that it could displace some of the animals in the areas. It could displace some homeowners, and for that reason, they think that it's bad.
Okay. Anybody want to add anything else? Yes?
If a bunny took a drink of the water in a reservoir, they could possibly die because it's a fake water.
The water may be different or changed. Okay. These are my two guys that thought they don't know if it's good or bad. And what do you think, young man?
I think it's bad because it will flood the trees and we wouldn't have any more homes to live in and we would be cold.
Yeah, and you think it's good. Why? Because
You can swim in it.
you can swim in it. Okay, here's what I want to know. Does anybody want to change groups from what they've heard? Do you guys think it's okay or bad? Does anybody want to change groups? Anybody want to change groups? Go ahead and change groups then. What groups do you think? So now you think it's bad? And now you're not decided? And you guys think it's, oh, you think it's good? Well, that's very interesting. Let's come back and have a seat. Well, see, that's how the real world is, boys and girls. Sometimes these things are hard to decide. Whether it's to cut down the forest for a house, cut down the farmland for a school, or to dam up a river to make a lake. Or what if you decided, listen to this one, what if you decided that they needed to make a road, a highway that goes right through here? What if they had to make a super highway that goes right through here?
No.
Is that a good idea or a bad idea? But wait. It's bad because look, you lose all this stuff right here if you had to make a highway. But what if I wanted to take my little daughter to the hospital and now that highway, I can get there in 2 minutes? Or what if I wanted to go shopping and now I can drive to the store? Before I had to drive an hour. Isn't it okay to tear all this stuff down for a highway?
No.
Yes or no?
Yes. You can go faster.
Here's my point. When people change the environment, it may be good for some organisms and bad for others. And you have to decide. We can take a vote right now.
I think it's bad now.
You
I think
it's
it's
bad?
good.
You think it's good? Hey, welcome to the world. I hope we make good choices. Welcome to the world. I want to show you one more thing, that some choices that we made. This is going to be hard to understand, but I'm going to do my best, okay? You see, there was a scientist, one of my favorite scientists, heroes actually, scientific hero. His name was Michael Faraday, and he invented something. He found out that if you could spin some wires inside of a magnet, you could make a dynamo or a little generator. And watch, if you can spin wires inside of this, watch. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
It's generating electricity. Now, I had some breakfast, and now that's turned into energy, and I'm transferring it to this right here. I need a volunteer. You want to feel the electricity? Come up here, young man. This could be dangerous. Do you have insurance? Yeah? Okay. Put your finger right there, and put your other finger right there. Just to show you what this feels like. Let's see. Tell us what it feels like when I put some electricity through you. Ready? Tell me.
It shakes.
It shakes. Okay, go ahead, put your fingers right there, and look at your camera. Let me know if you feel any electricity on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Ah.
I'll try it.
So, guess what? Oh, you'll be okay. So look, if I can spin some wire inside of a magnet, the more I spin, the brighter it gets. But man, I get tired. If there was only a better way to spin this, one way to spin it is hook it up to water shooting out of here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, if the water was a big wheel, that's one way. Here's another way to do it. Maybe you've seen these before.
Oh, yeah.
This is a wind turbine. It lets the wind turns it, and inside of it is one of these. And that's another way to do it. Another way is to use solar energy. I don't know if you can see this, but it's starting to spin. So we can use solar energy, we can use water energy, we can use wind energy. But that's not how we used to do it. We used to do it like to get this to turn, here's how we used to do it. We used to burn this.
What is that? A rock.
This is a rock called coal. And you came to school today because of oil. This is oil that is made into gasoline. And this is how your bus and how your car, how you came to school. This is probably how you got your electricity. This was burned, or you burned gas like this.
No, not turned on.
All three of these, coal, gas, and oil, are fossils. They're fossil fuels from a long time ago. But when you burn these, it puts stuff in the air. Oh, what's going on over here? Huh. I gotta show you something. Check this out. Careful. Listen, this is how we used to make a lot of energy. This is a steam engine. We used to burn coal right here, boil water from the river, and make steam. Hear the steam right here? Listen. Let me close this valve, and it builds up. This is a steam engine, like a train. And this is called a boiler, but watch this, ready? I'm gonna close this valve and open this valve, and we'll see what happens. Yeah, watch out, here comes. In fact,
That's poison?
no, it's steam, and look,
Here.
and the hotter it gets, this is how steam engines, here we go.
Oh, yeah.
And long as we have water to boil,
That's like a train.
and but we have to burn something, so we burn coal or gas or wood,
Whoa. Wow.
and we make steam. We transfer that heat to steam.
Smoky.
No, that's steam. It's not smoke, it's steam. So that's another way. But to do this, we have to dig up for coal or gas or fossil fuels. Does that change the environment?
No. Yes. Oh, faster.
In fact, it changes the environment if we have to dig it up. So you have to decide, is it better to use solar power,
No.
wind, or dig up and burn a lot of coal? That's
Dig up
up-
and burn a lot of coal.
You think?
Yeah. No, we're all gonna be.
No, because I think that it's better to find ways that does not put stuff
That's hot.
up
That's
in
good.
the air.
Is it hot?
It's very hot.
Then how are you touching it?
I'm not touching the steam, I'm touching this part of the wheel right there. Let me share one more story with you. There's one more way to think about when people change the environment. It may be good for some organisms and bad for others. And this is one of my favorite books. It's called The Great Kapok Tree. This is a story about a tree that's in the Amazon in South America. A giant tree. Kind of like the tree we talked about here, only a different type. Two men walked into the rainforest. Moments before, the forest had been alive with the sounds of squawking birds and howling monkeys. Now, all was quiet. The creatures watched the two men and wondered why they had come. The large man stopped and pointed to the large kapok tree. The smaller man took the axe he carried and struck the trunk of the tree. Whack! 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 The sounds of the blows rang through the forest. The wood of the tree was very hard. Chop, chop, chop. The man wiped the sweat that ran down his face and neck. Whack, chop, whack, chop. Soon the man grew tired. He sat down at the foot of the great kapok tree. And before he knew it, the heat and the hum of the forest had lulled him to sleep. And when he went to sleep, all the creatures that lived in this tree came to visit him in his dream. A boa constrictor that lived in the kapok tree slithered down the trunk to where the man was asleep. He looked at the gash the axe had made in the tree. Then the large snake slid very close to the man, and he hissed in his ear, "Senor, this tree is the tree of miracles. It is my home, where generations of my ancestors have lived. Do not chop it down." A bee buzzed in the sleeping man's ear. "Senor, my hive is in this kapok tree, and I fly from tree to tree and flower to flower, collecting pollen. In this way, I pollinate the trees and the flowers throughout the rainforest. You see, all living things depend on one another." Well, as he sleeps, all the creatures of the tree come and speak to him. Macaws, toucans, frogs, the jaguar, possums, anteaters, monkeys, macaca, and even a three-toed sloth. And they all tell him, and even a boy that lives in the forest from the Yanomami tribe, come to him, a child of the Yanomami tribe who lived in the rainforest, knelt over the sleeping man, and he murmured in his ear, "Senor, when you wake, please look at us with new eyes." Now I'm going to let Miss Williams read this book, and you're going to find out what happens. Who are all the creatures, all the organisms that depend on this tree, and whether or not the man should cut down the tree for houses and furniture and wood and paper, or he should leave the tree. And then you decide, what would you do? Hey, it's been fun. Ms. Williams, go ahead and I'll let you read that book. This has been a great idea. I don't know, you have to decide. When people change the environment, it may be, what? Good for some organisms or bad for others. You have to decide. Thanks.